Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Wednesday, August 6, 2014. You can follow us on Twitter at CATEX TV. The situation in Gaza is actually stable today. We're about halfway through the 72-hour ceasefire. There's been no rocket firing on either side, and the Israeli military, the army at least, is totally disengaged from Gaza, so people have their fingers cautiously crossed. The New York Times is reporting in a big front page story today that Russian hackers have stolen 1.2 billion usernames and passwords in a series of internet thefts affecting 420,000 websites. The story was published in the Times based on findings of a Milwaukee-based company called Hold Securities that has a history of uncovering online data breaches. The identities of the websites that were broken into were not identified by the Times, citing confidentiality agreements. Security experts believe that hackers will continue breaking into computer networks unless companies become more vigilant. A security analyst at Gartner said companies that rely on usernames and passwords have to develop a sense of urgency about changing this. Alex Holden, the founder of Hold Security, told the Times that most of the sites hit by Russian hackers are still vulnerable to further break-ins. Besides stealing 1.2 billion online passwords, hackers have also amassed 500 million email addresses that could help them engineer other crimes. So far, little of the information stolen seems to have been sold to other online crooks. It seems that the information is instead being used to send marketing pitches, junk messages, and social networks such as Twitter being used as well. There was a fairly big earthquake in Johannesburg yesterday, a 5.5, killing one person, injuring 17 others. Seismologists said that for South Africa, a 5.5 quake is quite big, but it's not uncommon. It went on for about 20 seconds and was felt as far away as Mozambique and Botswana. Anglo Gold Ashanti gold mine said that 17 of its employees had been injured. Johannesburg Emergency Services said the quake was felt in most parts of the city. Well, it's often said that the financial markets have better information than the regular markets, and the first thing I heard today when I woke up is that the financial markets are under the impression that Russia has dramatically increased the number of troops and vehicles at its eastern border with Ukraine, and that the Polish foreign minister has warned of the potential for an invasion. This has sent the stock markets in London and the futures in New York into a jitter. Earlier yesterday, Vladimir Putin ordered his government to prepare retaliatory measures against the U.S. and European economic sanctions imposed on Russia. This would be one heck of a thing if the Russians actually invaded. This would cause massive consternation. Reinsurance giant Swiss Re missed consensus estimate earnings on a number of key metrics, including net income with its second quarter results. The group's net income was $800 million for the quarter, taking the reinsurer to $2 billion in profit for the first 6 months of this year. Swiss Re said that it remains on track for delivering on its 2011 to 2015 financial targets. Michel Liess, the group CEO, said that the P&C operations benefited from a relatively low cat year, seeing a combined ratio drop from 101% down to 93.5%. They also began to switch coverage into casualty markets. The casualty market premium volume increased by 13% year on year. Mr. Liess said, "We see the insurance market generally softening. Thanks to our leading position, we continue to take advantage of opportunities as they arise." The Costa Concordia cruise ship is back in the news today. It's fortunately sitting in Genoa, Italy, in a salvage yard. However, after absorbing losses of more than $1.9 billion over the last 30 months, reinsurers are again on risks associated with the Costa Concordia after a new $500 million policy was purchased to cover the ship. Here's what's happened. The cover was written as reinsurance for the Standard Club, which is the primary coverage company, with Marsh acting as the broker Hiscox, which escaped from the loss of the Costa Concordia's capsizing relatively lightly is leading the policy. Liberty Syndicates apparently also has a big chunk of it. And the policy covers any liability risk arising from the dismantling of the ship as it sits in the Genoa shipyard. Sources said that a separate policy had been put in place to cover the tow, which took 4 days. That tow took place without incident. Greenlight Re, one of the new hedge fund reinsurers, which is based in the Cayman Islands, saw its stock prices dip by about 5.5% in trading today. This is after they reported Q2 results that showed a significant shrinking in premium. Their gross written premium slumped from $135 million down to about $34 million. The CEO of the company said that the decrease was a result of the reinsurer deciding at the end of 2013 to exit some business that no longer met its return hurdles. Now, that's very smart. That's exactly what the traditional reinsurers are doing. If they can't get the premium price they want, they sit out. Here we have a hedge fund reinsurer doing that, and their stock price is being penalized for it. It's a little counterintuitive. The Ebola outbreak in West Africa continues. Now, more than 900 people have died. Fears are mounting that the underfunded healthcare systems in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea, the 3 governments that are most affected by the widespread outbreak, are going to collapse under the epidemic. New deaths and infections are reported each day. There are even photos on the internet of dead bodies in the street of people who have expired as a result of Ebola and have not been picked up. Experts say that it may take more extreme measures, such as closing off entire countries for travel, to stop the infection. An expert on pathogens at Tulane University said they should have started quarantining entire areas months ago. World leaders apparently were slow to issue alerts. The U.S. CDC only issued a travel warning for the affected countries just last week. This delay apparently has allowed Ebola to spread faster than it should have. A doctor said once this thing started, it would have been quite easy to isolate these small areas in the rainforest. There was a lack of preparedness, a lack of organization, an initial failure to quarantine. They should have done it sooner, but better late than never. Steps have now been taken, which are fairly dramatic. Sierra Leone has ordered all of its citizens to stay home from work and school yesterday and Monday. Members of the military have been dispatched throughout the country to assist in cordoning off remote villages that are hotspots of the virus. The Liberian government has urged citizens to avoid large public gatherings. The scale of the effort is unprecedented, but officials can only wait to see if the toughest restrictions that they've employed will work. If not, we will see quarantine in all countries. Meanwhile, the 2 American doctors who are being treated at Emory University are apparently responding well to an experimental drug developed by a small biotechnology firm in San Diego. The drug had only been used on monkeys, but was used on these 2 doctors after they agreed to waive any liability. It's actually working, so good for them. You can follow us on Twitter at CATEX TV. Thank you for watching. If we have any breaking news or if Mr. Putin decides to invade the Ukraine, we'll come back on and tell you. We'll see you tomorrow.